Welcome back. Now, from higher taxes to rising inflation, a weak shilling and salaries not increasing to meet these changes, Kenyans are feeling the pinch. Some have had to do away with some food commodities, perhaps drive the car less, skip a meal, downsize their home just to stay afloat. So how do they navigate these challenging economic times and start to develop better financial management habits and even stretch the shilling or turn a skill that they have been sitting on into a profit-making venture? Well, joining me in studio now is the expert, Dr. Patricia Murugami, founder and CEO of Breakthrough Leadership Transformation. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
You're most welcome, Victoria.
Let me begin, I guess, with this issue that Kenyans have, and I think it's people all over the world, the relationship with money. And I guess how to rethink it and reshape it. I don't think we are honest enough with how we spend our money many times. But, how would you advise someone who's just gotten their August payslip and is thinking, okay, where do I begin from here?
Absolutely. And when you think about the fact that you're going through this recession, hyperinflation space, I think the first thing is to tell yourself that you're in a school, that this will recur several times in life.
Yeah.
So what are the lessons you need to learn? So amongst the first thing is find out, where is your money leaking? Most people are very happy to do all sorts of things with their money, but they don't really know. So the first thing, track your expenses for last month.
Okay. Shilling
by shilling, that tip you gave, that whatever it is, first and foremost, track your money. The second thing is, ask yourself, what are your non-negotiables? Okay. Now, I think for a lot of people, everything seems to be a non-negotiable.
Right.
But actually focus down, hunker down, depending on the season, whether you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, hunker down to what is critical for this season. So if it is school fees, food, insurance, and medical, first priority, then pay yourself first. I remember one of the pieces of advice I was given by a mentor many years ago is, if you earn X, let's say you earn 100 shillings, ensure that your saving gets to the account before it comes to you. So whether you're using a SACCO or whether you're using a different kind of tool, access to the money that you need to have should be much less. And James Clear says something, you don't rise to the quality of your goals, you fall to the quality of your systems.
Interesting.
So what are the systems you have to ensure that you pay yourself first, meaning your non-negotiables, then you save for the future because that has an exponential perspective, and you cut back on instant gratification. So those holidays, those things that needed to have been done in the past, this is the year to hunker down and say, I need to learn a lesson here. I need to ensure I can have fun in my home as opposed to in some exotic location. And I can focus on that which truly matters. But money has everything to do with your beliefs. Now, beliefs are interesting. When I think about money, we have a goal setting that we call the 5-finger goal setting. Okay. And the first one is your physical goals. So what are your physical goals in terms of how you actually live life, how you lead? Secondly, mental, intellectual. What are you reading? What are you watching? Just on my way here, I listened to someone who was saying, she was listening to some person, we are broke, you can't get out of this space. If you listen to those kind of messages, then your intellectual mindset actually shifts to a scarcity mindset as opposed to an abundance mindset. So what you're listening to, what you're watching, so I'm hoping many people are watching this. Hopefully it'll elevate
and
the way
change
they
their
think.
mindset on things, right?
The third one, emotions. A lot of people believe that they can never be wealthy. And this is moving from the current situation now to how do you view wealth? Okay. That in our family, we've never been wealthy. Wealth is bad. Money is the root of all evil. Those kind of beliefs have a very dramatic effect on the money you have. And at the end of it, you end up having more month at the end of the money because of those beliefs. Then you have spiritual, which is very connected. That black tax, for example.
Oh, yes. And we were coming to that. Which seems to be no respecter of the systems that you were talking about earlier.
Absolutely. But black tax can be managed, because what is black tax? You've done very well, Victoria. Then you have all your relatives are just waiting. I'm sure you remember the days of fundraisings. You're the chief guest in multiple spaces. Now they don't even need you to come, just M-Pesa. Right. But you see, the black tax has everything to do with managing expectations and realizing that how I manage my wealth now, even if my wealth may be very few shillings, it's my wealth, has a multi-generational impact on my children and my children's children. Right. So the spiritual piece around the fact that we have talents and the work that we do is part of those talents and the way we actually receive that wealth. So financial well-being is the fifth. Okay. And it's the fifth finger because it's affected by how I view all the other elements of my life. So I would say for all of us because all of us are struggling in that space of this is the money you have, this is what the tax man is taking away, this is what inflation is doing, you need to ask yourself, what are the beliefs you have about money? What are your non-negotiables? What season are you in life? And how can you ensure that you're looking at this as a class as opposed to having a doomsday approach?
I have to ask this because it seems a lot of people have to now get into, well, I mean, we've already been doing the side hustle, but take it a bit more seriously. So maybe that skill that you were sitting on, you didn't think it was much of an income generator, but now you may consider scaling it up. What advice do you give someone from turning the skill or passion into profit?
It's such a great question. I think the first thing is if you have a day job, become super exceptional at it. Because most people, what they're doing is they're going to work and they're spending their time lamenting about the tax regime, the fact that you have less than compared to last year. Be grateful. You know, we just came out of COVID. What did we learn during the COVID pandemic? I mean, it was much worse than this. People lost incomes. You actually had to just be in your space at home because you couldn't go out. But when it comes to turning your passion into profit, I think find the thing that you're passionate about that solves a problem for someone else. I'm reminded of a woman many years ago because this cyclical space around taxes and inflation will continue to come. It's who it leaves you as. And I remember that lady used to serve as tea in an office many years ago. And then she saw these young people, they never seem to have breakfast. So I'm going to do something. Since they're hungry, let me make sure that they can actually do what? Get some snacks. So they started making the mandazis. And guess what happened as a result? She had a whole list of orders. And what did those orders do? Over time, it became her side hustle, became a real source of income. And guess what happened? Ultimately, she actually ensured she educated her child from the mandazis because she had a passion for it, but she also was solving the problem of the rest of the employees who seem to never have breakfast. So start small, be ethical. Don't do things that are cutting corners, but solve the problem of those who are around you. And as a result, if you do that well, it'll start to bring you an income stream that actually makes sense in the long run.
Speaking about bringing an income stream, we have another guest stream, if you will. Waithaka Gatumia, Centonomy CEO, who's just joined us. Thanks for coming in. But let me ask you this, because a lot of Kenyans watching, they saw their August payslip, and they're wondering, how can I stretch that shilling? Yeah, you did too, right? We're all trying to recover.
and you can imagine as employers and those who are in management trying to prepare your teams for that. It's part of the whole process. And so we're all in this. And I think we've spoken about this before when we're discussing finances, that I think the best analogy, I can't remember who said it, is that we are in the same storm, but we're not in the same boat. And so it's about each one of us taking that responsibility, exactly what you're talking about, to build the boat to bring us through that storm, the storm that we're going through.
So how do, and I asked this of Patricia a bit earlier on, but how do we kind of shift and change our relationship with money? That's what you do at Centonomy, essentially.
So it's about being purposeful with every opportunity that you get. I was, most of the time you'll see me coming for interviews like this, I'll be in a suit, but you've seen I've changed today. I've come dressed differently. I wanted to highlight that these are young Kenyans who are producing products that are of a high quality. I was about to bring my bag onto the set. One of my, a good friend of mine at Home 254, JB Jura, also produces such products. And it's about saying that, guess what? Even in this market, even in this time, there are those who are still producing value and who are bringing it up to the ground that is there. So can I give 3 quick tips when it comes to your personal finance? We've said it many times, but they're the tips that actually matter most when it comes to your personal finance. Number 1, pay yourself first. What does that mean? You prioritize yourself. Exactly what you were talking about. What does it mean to prioritize yourself? You save and invest first before you do all the other things that you're going to do. Because if you wait until you've paid everybody else, nothing left.
Right.
You pay the government, the church, your relatives, the supermarket, the schools, everybody else, and there's nothing left. So if you don't, that's about prioritizing yourself. Number 2 is track your spending. I know it sounds boring. I know it sounds like this is beating a dead cat or something like that. Is that the saying that's there? But if you don't know where your money is going, you can't make decisions about it. I gave this example before, that it's at all levels. So my house help, we found that she had over 5 ringtones on her phone that she was paying over $1.50 per day. So you can imagine that somebody who's earning not too far from minimum wage, and then it's gone.
Right.
And it's the same at the top level. We train senior executives who are earning 2 million shillings a month, but they're spending 3 million. Because they're trying to get to a life that is beyond them. And so you think it's about increased income, it is not. How you manage it, and finally, focus on assets. Yeah. Many of us are very quick to look wealthy, but we're not actually wealthy. Of the items that you own, how many of them actually put money in your pocket? And I told you, young people, I've just gone onto social media as I was coming here, I was driving, and I was just like, look at these people. They've taken their phone, the thing that is in our pocket that takes money out of our pocket, and they're using that same tool to produce and actually put money in their pocket. We cannot depend on everybody else. Hey, vote in the next election so you get the government that you want.
Right.
But once that has happened, your role is to figure out for yourself where you're going to be going. Take control of your finances. Yeah.
I wish we could continue this conversation. Can you imagine? Time is up, but I know you've planted the seed into the viewers' minds of what they can start doing in terms of being more responsible with their finances and the resources at their fingertips. Thank you so much, Dr. Patricia Mugambi and Waithaka, for coming in this evening. We need to have a part 2 and part 3, perhaps, of this, because that payslip is not changing anytime soon. But let's take a short break here on Citizen Weekend. Much more ahead. Stay with us.